So, Dungeons and Dragons. I could spend oodles of time talking about everything about it and what makes it so fun, but instead I'm just going to tell you the basics of the 12 standard classes that are in the base player's handbook. So, the 12 standard classes are Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. And each of them is... most of them are fundamentally different from the other in how you play. Some will have some similarities. So, start with Barbarians. They are exactly what they sound like. They are warriors that use their rage to fight, and they will run into battle with a bare chest. They're the ones screaming at the enemy to hit them, because they're the ones that can take it, and they're just ape shit. They're the ones they do a lot of damage, and their whole thing is hitting things as hard as they can, basically. So that's Barbarians. Bards. Bards are basically your performers. They tend to be the more showman-y type. A lot of times they'll be singers, maybe writers, actors, whatever it is. They will inspire others in battle with their songs or whatever it is they do. Typically they will have an instrument that they play to accentuate whatever it is they do for performing. They're more of a support-based class, so they can be more than just support, of course, if you play it that way. But they are best played as support, but they inspire others in battle and can give them special pluses to the rolls. So, yeah, that's fun. Clerics, while you could typically default them into the category of they are the healers, well, yes, that is what they do, that is not all they do. They have a whole range of different subclasses where they can do basically anything that they want. But they're basically the ones that are more in tune with their gods, and they get their magic from their gods basically by praying, and they carry out their gods' wills. That's what they do. Either it be through healing, or sending things to the grave, fighting, or just spreading the word. They take a more religious stance with how they fight. They're effectively healers, though, in part. They're really good healers. That's the thing they are probably best at, but they can do a lot. Druids, which is my personal favorite base class, are the more nature attuned class that can transform to a variety of different beast shapes, turn into any animal that they choose, basically. And they use that to protect the forest they live in, and basically use nature to beat the shit out of whatever it is they're fighting. They use nature to fight, which is something I always thought was cool. So they will grab things with vines, or beat you with a tree, or rather magically have the tree beat you up, whatever it is. That's how they fight. And then again, they can transform different shapes of animals as well. And they can pretty much play in any style they want. They can go tank, DPS, healer, support, you name it, they can do it. So that's Druids for you. Fighters, I would pretty much say the most standard base class, where their whole thing is just martial prowess. Their whole thing is being really skilled in whatever way they fight. Typically not magically, there's a subclass Eldritch Knight where they can use magic, but typically it's just using whatever weapon, whatever armor, fighting really well. That's their whole thing. They're really good at damage, at DPS, damage per second, as well as they're really decent at taking damage, really good at dealing damage. And they get a crap ton of hits because they have so many extra attacks, so that's a fighter for you. Monk. These guys are, think of like a more Zen fighter, I guess. They fight usually with their fists. They know how to hit really hard, and they use this thing called Ki, which is kind of like magic, but not really. It's this energy in their bodies that, according to the game, everyone has, but monks know how to use it, and they study how to use it. But they do that, and they fight really well unarmed. As well as certain monk weapons, of course, but most typically they will just, with their fists, beat you senseless. And they can hit a lot. Not necessarily hard, but they will hit a lot, and it adds up to being a fair amount of damage. So yeah, think of a more Zen fighter. Paladins. So basically think a cleric and a fighter combined. So they have healing abilities of a cleric, and all the divine stuff of a cleric, because they're in service to the gods, and all the martial prowess of a fighter. Basically 1-1, and that's effectively a paladin. It's the knight in shining armor that does what they do for their god. That's effectively a paladin. Rangers, so they are also more nature boys. Not nearly as attuned to nature as a druid, of course. They tend to protect cities from the wild, or the opposite. You know the type of ranger you're playing, but they're really skilled hunters, and they are very knowledgeable of the prey they're tracking. So whatever it is that they specialize in taking and hunting down, they know a lot about, and they're really good at tracking it. And so that's basically a ranger. They're also really good with ranged weapons, of course, but they can again use melee. But typically most times you see them with a bow, but that's a ranger. Rogues, they're the stealthy, more edgy boys. They can be good thieves, as well as assassins, but you can also use them for good too. Like, their skills come in handy in many areas. They're really good at finding traps, as well as dismantling said traps, and basically undoing them so they're no longer there. They're really skilled at whatever it is they do, and they strike with precision. Rather than hitting a lot, they favor hitting one time in a very precise, weak spot to do a lot of damage. So that's a rogue. Sorcerers, they are just innately magical, in that it's in their blood, either through being related to a dragon or a god or some other celestial being or whatever, what have you. It's in their blood, and they can either manifest wildly or they can actually have the control over it. But they don't learn it from books like wizards or have a patron like a warlock. It's in their blood, and they're more dynamic, and they can alter their spells. Warlocks. Warlocks have a divine, well, it could be divine or demonic or aberrant patron, depending on the way the person's playing it. But they have a patron that they serve, and they get their magic from them. So rather than praying to their god for their magic, or reading books, or just having it in the blood, they basically entreat a patron and get their magic that way. So they don't have quite as good of control over magic as a wizard or sorcerer would. So they have less spell slots, but their magic is very powerful. They can only cast 5 spell slot they have. So whatever they do, it hurts. And they're extremely customizable and just very fun all around to play. That's a warlock. And then of course wizards are your general magic caster class. They get their magic basically by reading books and studying it and learning through that. And they have a whole variety of spells. They have the longest list of potential spells for them to learn, of course. And they're really good at all that. The only thing they don't do is heal. They've stopped short of studying medicinal magic, so they can do pretty much anything but that. They have a huge variety of spells. And they get the most spells too, like in a list, because they start out already up to that level 1 with 6 first level spells and of the 3 cantrips. So they're already to start with have more magic they can cast than any other class, and just they can expand upon it in a variety of ways. So that's wizards. So that's the 12 standard classes and what they do, and they're a lot of fun to play, and I think you should try all of them out. I personally have, and they're all fun for different reasons. So yeah. So whatever class it is that you're going to play, just make it your own. You can have as much fun with it as you can, because you can customize it in so many ways. You could be a warlock that has a demonic patron, but that is actually uses it for good, and is actually against the demon patron they have, but have tricked them, and are instead using that magic to help a good cause, while having plans to eventually overthrow said demon. Or maybe you're a bard that travels around performing, and you end up with a group, and you like to inspire them with a song, but also dabble a little bit in sword fighting. Or maybe you're a wizard that is specifically into illusions, and originally was an illusionist putting on shows, perhaps, and then you decided to use your illusions with exploring and doing stuff like making bridges that you can make real temporarily so your whole party can cross, and stuff like that. Just all kinds of things you do. It's so customizable to whatever you're playing, especially warlocks, especially the wizard. But yeah. So just really play, make it your own, have fun with it, customize as much as you can, because there's no 2 characters are ever going to be the exact same However, they're all going to have different personalities, different race, different class, different subclass, different method of playing, just completely different goal. And you can just endlessly customize it how you want. So just have fun with it. And I encourage you, if you've never played Dungeons & Dragons, to give it a try. And just, those are only base classes, so keep in mind there are way more. There's Homebrew, there's Unearthed Arcana, all this stuff. So yeah, I encourage you to give it a try if you have not played it, and just have fun customizing your character and your class to be exactly what you want. Yeah, just have fun with it.